As we get back to the hand here, Kristen, want to give us a little bit of context for where we're at, what stakes we're playing? Well,
Yes.
Where we're at.
We are at the Bellagio 510 Millimet Hold'em. The max buy in there is 1,500. So for those of you who want to take 510, Bellagio is a really great place to do it. I have a couple of good buddies who built their roll off of that game, so highly recommend it. This game was playing particularly aggressive, and there were definitely a few lag players like myself, and there was a bit of a meta going on, particularly with the player in the hijack in this ring and myself. So that'll explain a little bit of how this hand went down.
Okay. Could you describe that meta a little bit?
Yeah, so I had shown him a couple of zero equity, 3x overbet jam bluffs, which is one of my favorite things to do. Just like the 9 high bluff. And he had made similar moves against me. We both seemed to be fans of overbetting, so the pots got pretty inflated, whether we had it or didn't. And there was a bit of table talk going back and forth about who might be the more aggressive player. So that was interesting. The table was also drinking pretty heavily. This hand happened something around 2 a.m. on a Friday. Or I guess Saturday.
Ideal.
Saturday, yeah.
Right when they're closing and everyone's getting multiple drinks to chug.
Right where we want them. So it was, so definitely very interesting and very fun table.
Okay. With that being said, Kristen opens to a standard 30 from under the gun with pocket 9s. Folds around to our friend, the loose aggressive villain, who sticks in the 3-bet to 130.
Why do I get the feeling we're going to 4-bet? Oh, now we're definitely...
Button cold calls, blinds fold, it's back to you.
So Bryce, you know what we do here.
Oh, absolutely, we're 4-betting. We have a pair. Yeah. How are we not going to 4-bet?
we absolutely put in the 4-bet for a couple of reasons. The first is that the super lag player in the hijack is 3-betting almost his entire range here against me because he is just completely unenamored by my under the gun open. He knows that does not stop me from opening like 3 high from this position. So he's 3-betting his entire range here. And then the cutoff and the button are both pretty tapped when they just flat here. So I actually think this is a position where we have the best hand.
I like it.
The 3-bet. Yeah.
So
4-bet.
I mean,
4-bet.
All the super sweet. So we go with the 4-bet sizing up to 650. Wow, that's
pretty big.
That's perfect, right?
I like it though, I mean, considering how many limps there are.
Right,
and we expect the hijack to be pretty inelastic because he's trying to get our money. So I like it.
I guess that makes a lot of sense too. I mean, what happens if the hijack calls and for some reason the cutoff or the button jam, or you just have to get out of the way? I guess
the cutoff isn't jamming here against 2 hella aggro opponents very often.
Cutoff and buttons don't have hands that they're jamming here. What I wanted to avoid by going smaller, I don't usually go this big, but I'm playing this hand out of position and I want to get heads up with the hijack. I know he's calling like 90% of his hands here because he knows that I know that he's 3-betting me light. So in his mind, he's like, she's 4-betting me light. Therefore, I'm in here with my whole range. That's how deep the meta was. But if I make the sizing too small, then I'm giving the cutoff and button too good of a price to also come in. And I definitely don't want to inflate this pot and go 4 ways out of position.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree.
I mean, I between all of us, is there any merit to flatting the 9s here instead?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we bank a set, awesome. But again, playing 9s out of position, it can be pretty sticky, especially 4-way. And considering that we know that, sorry to cut you off, the hijack is a very aggressive player. If they have a hand that even they consider 3-betting, they should probably be 3-betting in position. Even though she's opening under the gun, if she really has that spew of an image where she's 3x betting the river and just showing 0 equity bluffs, they probably aren't putting much respect to her under the gun range. So I completely agree with her analysis.
Okay. No, okay.
Totally.
And I mean, you can flat at some frequency, absolutely, but
yeah, I think flatting is okay here, but you are conceding the aggression in this hand, and that means that a board with that there are very few boards that nines are comfortable on. Right, and so if you get any kind of Broadway board, you kind of just have to concede this hand. Like you have zero range advantage anymore. Whereas if we, and it's worth mentioning, this is like a 4-bet semi-bluff. This is definitely not like a recommended 4-bet. But in this circumstance,
and this is very game dynamic dependent. I would not suggest doing this that frequently otherwise.
Right.
I also wouldn't suggest doing it at smaller stakes because you're never going to be deep enough for this to make sense.
100%. Let's see what happens.
I love it. Okay.
All right.
So we get the hijack to call, and just like we want, we get the cut off the fold, and that means button's going with him. And we're headed to a flop. Comes Queen 7-6, full rainbow. Action is on you. A little bit over 1-to-1 SBR here. Are we just ripping it in his face? What are we doing?
No, we would not be ripping it in his face if we had aces, kings, ace, queen, king, queen, 7, 6s, any of that. We would probably be down betting, which is exactly what we do. So we continue for 400. That's the value size we're looking for here. We can reevaluate if he decides to raise here. This is actually, so we have more queens here than he does, and we also have all the overpairs, whereas he shouldn't a large frequency of the time. So he does have some queens here as well. So we definitely need to play this one a bit cautiously. If we're raised here, we do probably have to give this hand up. But if we get flatted, then we can feel pretty comfortable that we likely have the best hand.
But the backdoor straight, we can't fold. No, I agree.
There's always runner. There's always runner.
Always.
So we bet 400 and we get called here. Are we absolutely terrified? Are we just shutting down when the turn comes the 5 of spades?
Not at all. This is a great card for our actual hand, but not a great card for our perceived range. Go ahead, Ryan. You were going to say something.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing that I struggled with about the flop bet was that now that we get to the turn and we have a much smaller SPR, is the play here to just check, call a jam, or just check, hope he checks back?
I think this turn goes check, check a lot. One street will in a 4-bet pot usually, whether it's flop, turn, river, it totally depends on the board texture. I think on this turn card, it's such an obvious brick for a 4-bet pot. While it actually isn't a brick for our hand and we turn quite a bit more equity, our perceived range isn't helped at all, but neither is his. He's not supposed to have 5, 6s, or 7s here. He's pretty capped at this point. I feel if he checks back here, I feel pretty comfortable ranging him somewhere between 10s, jacks, 8s, and an ace X hand that got sticky.
I agree.
I love that. So
this is the most quiet you've heard me before, Ryan, probably, but we don't know if people articulate this well.
This is one of those things I've been trying to work on is like the concept of not just like geometric bet sizing. I hate throwing out that term without like, really being able to explain it. But things like this, where like in 4-bet pots, how you size a flop in order to extract a check on the turn so that when we get to a river like this, now you can kind of explain your thought process behind what you're thinking about doing here.
Yeah, so this is obviously a great card for our perceived range. I think even with our ace queens, we're checking turn.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm always going to check at least one street here. And it also, as played, he has to keep ace jack, ace 10, and ace king within our range, where we could have just been continuing flop, checking turn, and we just got there. So this card is a great card to get him to fold what we perceive as his range, which is 8s, potentially the other combo of 9s, 10s, or jacks. He shouldn't have many other hands here, and so we're comfortable jamming here because it's not even a full pot size bet. It's the exact sizing we'd probably go with if we had the ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10.
100% mandatory jam.
I love this. Yeah. I love your explanation behind it.
Unfortunately, I think I saw the results of this hand. Does he open fold this hand? Is that this hand?
He open folds this hand after tanking for a full 3.5, 4 minutes. And to my surprise, he open folded king.
Wow.
So
show the hands.
We were dead wrong.
Did you show your hand?
Of course we did. So
I figured.
We were dead wrong in pulling aces and kings out of his range pre. I think he took a really strange line here with aces and kings. He could have hoped that I had a hand like ace, queen, king, queen, jacks that was unafraid of this board and would be willing to blast off all the money to him. Unfortunately, his worst nightmare came on the board. We repped the heck out of it, and he folded.
I think that the real issue here for him is that there's 12 available combos of ace king, because you can have ace king suited or unsuited, and that basically negates. I mean, combine that with now all of the pocket pairs that he's beating, and you basically have even money here. So when you rip it in his face, I mean, I guess given that in this 4-bet pot, if you have the same amount of value hands as you do not, he should be making this call here for a less than full pot size jam.
Ryan, you're not calling this river. Get out of here. You're not playing the hand this way, but Ryan, you're not calling this river. Get out of here.
No, God no. God no.
I think so. We're forgetting. I'll add in one more piece of context as to why he had to make the fold, because he wants to call. Like, he wants to call with king here. Like, I would have never tried this move if I knew he was as strong as king. That's like a little wild, a little too spicy. But I also have all of the crappy aces. I have all of the awful suited aces that I 4-bet bluffed with.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So you have to keep. I have not just the 12 combinations of ace king, but I have every ace. I have all of them as long as they're suited, and that's just too many combinations. He can't get around a call here.
I agree.
I love this hand. This is really cool.
I do too. People, especially in low stakes, don't understand the concept of like what a good or a bad card for them is, and that's something that they just have to study board textures and like understand from what positions, like what a standard like chart looks like of what you should be playing. And it's kind of crazy that like it's just so funny. Like on that board, I was like playing a tournament and basically decided, I don't even remember what the hell I had, but an ace came out in like a 3-bet pot. And of course I rep it. And he's like, oh, you hit the ace. You have ace 10. I was like, yep, I always have the ace. You're right. And he just folded like second pair. And I was like, thank you. But it's just, people are bad. I don't know how else to put it. But I like the way you played it.
Thank you. It is totally worth mentioning that if another scare card doesn't come on the river, so like an ace or a king doesn't come on the river, we're going to have a really hard time winning this pot. Like, our jam here isn't even for full pot, so I don't think we would have taken that line if a card that hits our range doesn't hit the board, unless we bank our gutter or hit our set. Obviously, then we're doing it for value.
So Jack rolls off, are we giving up?
I don't think we're using... I think that we actually do have to check here and take our showdown. As played, we have the best hand a lot of the time. And I think that there's just no way that we're getting him to fold a weak queen or tens or jacks. If something like a jack, another queen, a king hits the board. A king, we actually take the same line, but
I agree.
that might be it. That might be it. If the board did run out the runner, like a runner flush, that's also something we would have attempted to rep, because I think his ace X hands might have tried to bluff turn.
Yep.
So we probably would have also attempted to rep a runner flush. We have the 9. Yeah, if we have the 9X in our hand, then that's also helpful to our line.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. We loved asking you questions. I believe you were the 5th female guest we've ever had. But
let's go.
Cannot wait to play you again heads up sometimes. And thank you for going over the hand history with us, and good luck in your satellite.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye, Kristen. Have a good one. So we have 2 more hand histories for you guys, I believe. One's from Ryan, and one is either from our submission or from me. Honestly, don't know. So Ryan, what is the back? What is this?
So, this is from the MTT. This is an online MTT. This is ACR 4K guaranteed. That I was playing as like a Sunday grind for Tampa type deal while I was on vacation. This spot came up. It was interesting. I think you and I had like briefly touched on it before, but I wanted to go over it on the podcast because I think it's interesting. And it.
Wait, where was this? I don't remember that.
This is this was on ACR. This online.
Okay.
Sitting in my chair right here. Good times.
Gotcha. All right, hit me with it.
Dynamic versus the particular villain in this hand is that he's a bit of a loose aggressive guy. I think his like tag was like America or something like that. He had a bald eagle and he was doing a lot of aggressive actions. So keep that in mind. He's definitely a looser opponent. So sticking pretty standard rate to I think that's exactly 2.2 bigs. That's usually what I do. Opening from every position, especially off of 60 big blind stack. Maybe if just 2.
I taught you that, kid.
Yeah, exactly. I did. I asked you that. I was like, I've seen people do it both ways. And you're like, it's fine. But once you get short, then you can do 2. So gets to our villain. He sticks in the call. Big blind folds. And we are heads up. Flop comes King, Queen, 5.
Oh, nope. Now I know the hand. I harassed you a lot for checking this back.
Yep. So
I know your logic is he probably can't have that good of a hand, especially when he's literally just flatting out the small blind. But the issue is he's probably not going to turn his hand into a bluff all that often on a board that absolutely smashes our range. So that just means he only is going to semi-bluff with, say, like a flush draw, which might just try to realize their equity, considering this board smashes us, or some one pair hand on the turn, which like we'll probably just check call. So I think if he's going to call a bet with the intention to get a better hand, the time to extract value is on this flop. So I think we absolutely should be betting this flop. And I don't think we need to bet it massively. While there is a flush draw, I think we could even go, like, I wouldn't look to down bet this flop all that often, but I like a down bet way more than I like a check. So I would probably look to bet like 55% here, which, yeah, he's going to fold the vast majority of the time. Absolutely. But there are so many hands that can continue. I mean, 10 jack, obviously, possible.
Right.
Ace 5 if he decided to flat. I mean, I wouldn't be looking to flat Ace 5. You know what I'm saying? But, like, there are definitely hands that he has. He's got some King 10s. He's got some, I mean, again, he has a fairly
capped.
I don't know. Fairly capped range.
That has a lot of decent one pair holdings that are going to call a bet on the flop.
Yeah, I just don't think checking makes sense. I would be looking to check this flop less than 5% of the time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because the dynamic of the board completely changes if Ace Jack, any club, a 10, there's a lot of turn cards that completely change the board dynamic. So I think I just over assumed that I had a nutted hand and it was like, oh, he can't have anything.
Yeah, and I think you're also exploitable in this manner because kind of like the Rishi hand, when you get nutted hands, like on a flop of like King, Queen 3, when you have top set of kings, you'll check it sometimes. But literally every time you don't have a set, you're virtually always c-betting it. And people who haven't played with you don't know that, obviously. But you definitely have to look to just play your range. Don't play your actual hand. Yes, you made the best hand. But if you had just like Jack 8 suited here, which I don't even think you're raising from hijack that often, especially after 60 bigs. But like you're betting it. You're betting your range. So if you're betting your range with your bluff, you have to bet it with your value range or you're just unbalanced.
Especially against a small blind flatter who, like you said, has so much just middling crap here that's going to call a bet here. Right. You're right. The value that two.
I mean, even if he has like Queen 10 suited, Queen Jack, he's going to peel one. He hit a flop. You're not going to call to just, So we check. And what happens next?
Turn rolls off a 6 of hearts. Check. I stick in a bet this time to go to the half pot sizing, which we should have really done on the flop. But I guess this does seek to get the value that we should have gotten on the flop on the turn. But if we had made this C-bet on the flop...
I again think we can go bigger on this turn. Yeah, yes, another flush draw didn't come, but a 6 also brings a lot of like 7/8. I mean, it brings another open-ender potentially.
Exactly.
There's just too many hands that he can continue with. And if he's going to fold to a bet, you can probably go bigger because he's probably... pretty inelastic in the sense as if he picked up equity, he's probably going to continue because he probably perceptively thinks he has great implied odds, given the fact that this board is significantly better for your range versus the small blind caller's range out of position.
So this is interesting. Okay. So villain sticks in the check raise up to 27.57. And it's back on me.
So is this music to our ears, or are you somehow scared that he just has pocket 5s or pocket 6s or something like that nature?
That's a great question. I think in my immediate spot, I was not at all scared about him slow playing, or not about him slow playing. But
I don't think you should be all that scared. I mean,
no. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like with me checking the flop, if he didn't know those things about me that you know about, like what hand.
I actually forget what he has, so I'm interested.
Yeah, I actually forgot what he had because it's been a week since I looked at this hand. But I think I opt to stick in the 3-bet on the turn to a too small of a sizing.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. You basically clicked it back, which if he was semi-bluffing whatsoever, any flush draw, any open-ender, whatever hand he has needs to be calling this.
Yes. Unless
you just weirdly turned like a showdown hand like Queen 10, Queen 9 into a bluff, which I don't expect. That would just be kind of stupid. Then he's just calling this 100% of the time, like literally 100%. So I hate it.
Plus, you know.
And also, we absolutely, I don't know how, I just haven't mentioned the SPR we are leaving behind. We're leaving 12K behind. So if he calls, we're literally going to have an SPR of basically 1, like 1 to 1 SPR. So I think that's absolutely worth noting. And if we're trying to get money on this river, which I'm assuming we are, I think we can go a little bit bigger to make the SPR even like a little less than 1 to try to make them.
So is that
he's getting a little bit better of a price? I mean, yeah, we also want to get value from his draws. One thing that I think you absolutely, one of the leaks in your game is on the turn, you don't want to fold them out, but you literally don't want to fold them out to the point where sometimes you're literally giving them a price that it's making them profitable to call.
Yeah.
So like if they have, let's say 22% equity, you're giving them the odds to the point where they only need 18% equity in the hand to call. So you're literally printing money for the villain when you're doing that. And especially when they figure out that you're doing that for value all the time, they're not going to be even semi-bluff raising you on the turn. And I just think that you are losing value on those turns because they're not going to pay you off on the river. Whereas a lot of people, especially in live stakes, I know you've mainly been an online player, but people are way more inelastic. They'll call you a pot bet on the turn with a naked flush draw. Obviously, this is just in juicy game, but literally whales, they're not folding a jack high flush draw with no other equity. Like jack 3 of clubs right here, they are not folding. Like, especially if they're putting in that raise. So yeah, we need to go bigger. This is way, emphasis on way too small. And the villain's gonna call. I mean, there's no way the villain's just calling.
Okay.
But that's interesting. Yeah, he does not like the turn 3-bet. I actually don't love it either, Sam. But if you're going to 3-bet, you have to 3-bet bigger. Cause he said I would definitely be scared now.
In terms of I get what you're saying. I think I made that sizing because I was like, oh, I want to have a 1-to-1 SPR when I reach the river. But why do I want to have that? Like,
what is your history on this villain, by the way? I feel like, what is your history on this villain? Because I don't know if it's because we've talked about this hand history before or because you talked about the table dynamic, but I feel like for some reason I also just overly agree that he just doesn't have 6s here. Because I do agree. I mean, at the same time, there are a ton of draws at semi-bluff. And when we do check this board, he probably does assume most of the time we're going to be betting because we should be betting our range, even though we didn't. So, yeah, you played the little trappy and it might work out. So the 9 of clubs rolls off on the river. Well, what happens? Does he ship it? He ships it.
Yeah.
Do you call?
No.
Okay. Interesting. So what did I say to you about this hand when we talked about it? I'm assuming.
I mean, it is literally the most disastrous.
Oh, it's the worst card in the deck, and I think you should fold. 7-8 gets there, front door flush gets there. Yeah, if he did have a set, it got there. If he had 5-6, I mean.
Exactly. What calls a min 3-bet on the turn that didn't get there on this river?
I think that's a good question because it's not like another flush draw came on this turn
to
give him that equity.
10 of spades and rip it in my face right here. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like how you played virtually every street. Is I think what we talked about this hand. Pre-flop, obviously, completely fine. Flop should have bet. Turn. Shouldn't have 3-bet, but if you do 3-bet bigger. And this river, I agree with. I actually do think it's a fold, and I think a lot of people probably are just stacking off. This is the literal nut worst river, absolutely, no question. Yeah. And I'm sure Sam agrees that this is a pretty trivial fold, honestly, because unless he's literally just bluffing with complete air, which we don't expect a villain to be doing in a tournament off of a 60 big blind stack all that often. I agree that it's just a fold, and it sucks. But that's why we just have to play. You just stop trying to slow play. Just get money in the pot. When you have a 3-4-6 rainbow flop, you 3-bet the flop against Ryan, and you get all the value with 5-7. That's what you do.
I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah,
this way I won't forget. No more snow playing. No more slow playing. I'm gonna write it down. Write it down for you. Okay.
All right. So we have one more hand for you guys, I believe, unless Ryan didn't put in the easy hand.
No, it's
I see a third tab up there. So let's get into it. We got Sam Clark Poker. Shout out Sam Clark Poker. Decent poker player, great guy. Heads up for rolls and whenever you want, bud. All right. So I don't even know what this is. Who am I playing? Oh, whale. I'm playing the whale. Okay.
Boy.
This was we were playing heads up. I believe this was this is 5-10 probably.
This is
oh, it is. I literally am looking at the big blinds. I was looking at the stacks. Okay, so I don't even know how to I don't remember the table dynamic at this time, but long story short, this guy's a whale. That's all the background you need to know. So let's see the action.
Heads up for rolls.
Heads up for rolls.
Sam wants it. Heads up for rolls anytime. Bryce is him. So,
Sam, I want you to lay the odds on me versus Kristen. You can be the bookie for that one. But in the meantime, let's get into the hand.
You stick in a raise to 30. Our deep whale sticks in a 3-bet to 155.
I'm going to assume I'm just going to put in the flat here. I don't think it makes that much sense to be 4-betting 6s against the aggro player who will 5-bet jam like pocket 8s against me. So, yeah.
Is that one of the adjustments that you're making in these heads-up matches is like, are you...
I'm folding more pre, first of all, because he's 3-betting the shit out of me. I'm raising... What did I raise to pre-flop in this hand?
30.
Okay, yeah, 30's fine. I changed it up to 25 at one point because he was being hella aggressive. But absolutely, you need to... you could come over tomorrow and stack some firewood for money. As now, you clearly need some money.
Dad's putting me on blast right now.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Thanks,
yeah.
This is why I need coaching. This is why I have Bryce.
All right, so we're just putting in the flat. Let's do a flop.
Right. Oh, gorgeous. We flop bottom set.
This is going to be a really easy hand.
I think. I would hope so.
All right, he bets, I'm going to assume, as he's the... What the hell? Okay.
All right, now I'm very curious. I'm very curious. Do you size something like 100 and something like wanting him to check?
No, this dude's a whale. I'm sure I probably bet 55% a pot. I'm not slow playing any hand ever.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Yep. I like my sizing.
55% a pot, right on the dot.
Yeah. No, I like that sizing. I think that any single flush draw is going to continue. I think it's possible he's just deciding with ace king, ace queen to take some weird line. I think he has a ton of aces here, even though he checked. I don't care that he checked. If he just wakes up with aces, please take my money, kind sir. Good job. Set over set. I'm going broke against the whale. And yeah, I'm gonna get value from my hand. I'm not gonna play a hand like Ryan the Rock.
Right.
Yeah, that's literally that's what you do in these bigger games where people are whales. You just wait to have a good hand and put in the money. You don't need if you just stack off by bluffing, like you need to reevaluate your life. Wow. Okay, this is a bad turn. I hope I bowed up. I think I do bowed up with a 10 actually. What do I? Is that a different hand? I don't know what happens. He bets 290. I think it makes absolutely no sense to be raising here because he has all the flushes. Well, he has more flushes. Given the flop line, because I'm not going to be betting my flush draws all too often, even on this flop, because I think he still does have a ton of aces. So I'll just try to realize that equity. Although considering he is the initial 3-better, I do still have a lot of flushes, but considering the action and considering the meta, he has more flushes here. So I'm just going to put in the call, I'm sure. There's no way I raise this. It would be stupid to raise. Because if I raise, I'm literally getting all of his bad hands to fold anyway, and you don't want to raise just to see where you're at if where you're at is the worst hand always when you raise. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah. Okay, I vote up. Easy game. I'm sure he just bets and I jam. This hand isn't the most interesting. I'm
just rips it in your face.
Oh, snap. 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 You got ace 10, bud? Good job. You got aces? Good job. Okay. I think this hand was just to emphasize the whaliness of this guy. So, the board paired. We have the king high flush blocker. Cool. If the board doesn't pair, I like this jam a lot more. But we can't just say, F it. Like, if this bricks out, I'm curious if I call. Honestly, I think I'm just snapping. Anyways, I don't care that he has flushes. I don't care. This guy's a whale, and this guy will jam king 9 of spades on a double paired board. Like, what? That's just it. He floats the flop with the blocker. Flush gets there. He leads. Okay, and then it is a nice life. Sam is right. I mean, I can't act like I played this hand wonderfully. Like this is completely standard, and we will have better hands for you guys next week. But yeah, this was a fun heads up match. Few days. We printed a little bit. So yeah, thank you to the rail who watched me. I know there was a decent amount of you guys. Thank you again to Kristen for coming on the show tonight. Cannot wait to play with you again in the future and to continue to watch your future success. It is absolutely mind-blowing that you've only been playing the game of poker for 10 months and that you have been quite successful at it. I love your play style, and we very much enjoyed having you on today. Do you have any closing thoughts, Ryan?
No, beyond, I'm. It makes me a little sad. I mean, she's like way better than me.
She has put in more hours, to be fair, but I very much enjoyed my trip here, and I'm very glad that you could come out to hang out with us, Ryan. So thank you for that. And you guys need to make sure to stay tuned to my stories. I will be posting updates as I am going to Miami tomorrow to grind with Sam and meet up with some other poker players. There's Sam Poker. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Subscribe to Sam Poker as well. I pointed the wrong direction. Anyways, everyone have a lovely night. This is the end